All right, you are now tuned in to the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I am here with Goose and Gabe. The possibilities. In this episode, we have the crew. We cover topics that range from goal setting, dream building, a healthy mindset, the coronavirus, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Topsy Gift and Mohith Agadi. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, gentlemen.
What's up?
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so the possibilities, right? We want to talk about something positive. We're entering into the new year, or we are in the new year, obviously. Yes. And 1 month down. At this point, last year, I feel like we have a little bit more, we're a little bit of in a more positive, if you compare right now where we are compared to last year, I feel like there's a little bit more positive outcome or there's something more to look forward to. I mean, it was bad last year.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like digging our way out.
Because it was, this time last year was like the downswing of everything, like the full force of what we realized was happening.
Yeah. Yeah, and the shutdown was beginning.
Yeah.
And it was
a couple weeks from now, a year ago.
Yeah. And it was, we just didn't know what was hitting us.
No.
And there was a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, no, last year around this time we were hearing in other countries how bad it was already over there. And we're naive. We're like, oh, that's never going to come here.
Because it started like kind of on the same way, like all those weird flus, like the bird flu and the swine flu stuff. Like, it was like, oh yeah, it was around the world, but it never really made it here, or never was it never ran rampant, I guess you could say. Yeah. And that was obviously not the situation, but
yeah, I mean, we experiencing a legit world pandemic, so nothing of the likes in my lifetime, anyway.
No, absolutely,
very, very craziness. Anyway, so we wanted to inject a little bit of positivity, some of the things that we kind of do on a daily basis to kind of redirect, I guess, our thinking and our minds. When there's so much negativity around us.
Sure.
So I found an article from the Thought Catalog that I thought was pretty good. I kind of did a search on what are possibilities, what's a healthy mindset, and when I came across this, it's just a paragraph I want to read to you all to kind of, I guess, kick the conversation off. So, the Thought Catalog. There are so many little things in life that can turn your life around in an instant that can come about just from taking one action. There's so much to do, so much to see, and our time on earth is limited. It's time to realize that our lives are filled with endless possibilities. We are limitless. You can accomplish anything. We just have to open our minds to see them. We can choose to act or to sit by and watch life pass us by. And in everything we do every day, we have a choice to make. Live your life. Find ideas that matter and share them. Life possibilities allow us to push ourselves and the people around us to demonstrate gratitude, insight, and inspiration. Life is about taking risks to make the world better by being great. Taking risks isn't easy. It takes practice. It takes determination. It takes work. It takes different mindset. But living a positive, action-oriented life brings us much more than it takes out of us. And again, that was from the Thought Catalog. So, what are the possibilities, right? When we think about this, I remember I always think about this situation in my life. I think I was in maybe 10th grade. And I don't know if the person who came to speak was an actual motivational speaker, but it was something along those lines. We had like an assembly, and this gentleman came to talk about us, I guess, on some level to motivate us or inspire us to stay in school and do good, one of those things. Yeah. And the one topic that kept coming out, my one buddy kept saying, was anything's possible, possible. And I was not I wouldn't say that I was a negative person, but I think I was probably 50-50. I was probably half, pessimistic and then, the other optimistic. So I was just kind of like right there, maybe 60-40 pessimist, actually, to be honest with you. As I got, later in high school, it started tipping the scales, because I remember when I got accepted to Temple University, I'm like, wow, this is possible. And so I remember thinking a little bit more optimistic, and then it might have turned 60-40 while I was in college. It went probably, 80-20, to be honest with you. Anyway, long story short, this guy, or my one friend, just kept saying, anything's possible, anything's possible. And I remember, like, we're walking home from school that day, and I'm like, anything is not possible. Like, and he's like, what do you mean? He's like, he told us that we can do anything. And I feel bad, like, now that I think about it. Luckily, that person is fine and doing well for himself now. But, I mean, we were like 14, 15 years old. Yeah. Plus, I think it's our duty to question things. You know what I mean?
No, of course.
Anyway, I come from a hardworking parents that went to work day in and day out, and here this guy's telling us that we can be and do anything we ever wanted. I was like, anything I ever saw was 2 jobs, putting in crazy hours a week, and that's all I saw. And then an incredible belief system, as we grew up in a Christian Pentecostal household. Anyway, so I kept saying, not everything is possible, right? And he's like, anything's possible. And I remember we're walking, and we live in Bristol Borough, and there's a path that led from the high school all the way, basically it goes through the entire town. And at one point you kind of just dip off to go to whatever section you live at or whatever. But along the path is the railroad, and the path goes parallel with the railroad. And I remember saying, do you think it's possible that you can jump from this path over the railroad? And the railroad goes up into a hill, and it was about, I don't know, maybe 50 yards away. He goes, no, that's ridiculous. I was like, so that's not possible. It's not that it's ridiculous, it's not possible, right? So not everything is possible. He's like, I don't think that's what he meant. I was like, well, you got me thinking that anything's possible. You're gonna redirect people, and you're gonna have them thinking the wrong thing. And I remember having it, and I still think that. I still do think that. So and I was one of those people who went so far the other way to then believing anything is possible. Anything is possible. Sure. I'm not saying that anything is not. You have to understand, but there's laws here.
Yes.
And I think that's what I was trying to say in 10th grade or whatever I was. But I think it might have came off as like just being super negative.
Sure.
Towards, like I was trying to make a point that no, there's limits to it. We can push those limits.
Yes.
But there's certain things that are literally not possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously you have to take it logically of like what's actually like physically possible.
Okay, so what's funny about that, the reason why I say that is I read a bunch of books, I listen to podcasts all day, not all day long, I shouldn't say that, while I'm traveling to and from work, whatever.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, there's still people who preach this, and it's confusing, especially if you truly are looking to improve your life. And I only say that because at some times there's people that are misleading vulnerable population that truly do believe in their message, that I feel that, and there are people that do it, that you need to, hopefully that they're expanding their catalog on folks that they're listening to.
Sure. Because, you have to gauge expectations like that. You have to, like, learn to, not, like you said, you can have those conversations, but you can't have so generalized that you think, oh, like you said, anything is possible. You have to set expectations on that.
Right. So, for a car, let's just go for a car example, right? A specific model, let's just say a Toyota Corolla. I'm just giving the most basic, or a Honda Civic, whatever.
Yeah, those are
Honda Civic, right?
Same range.
I think the speedometer goes up to $190 or something like that. I have no idea what they come horsepower wise. I don't know, somewhere between 100 and 200 horsepower. I don't know. Yeah. I'm assuming, and that's how they come stock, right? For me to say that it's possible for me stock to go 250 miles per hour when the gauge doesn't go that far and the car's not built for that.
Yes.
Right? That's what I'm talking about. Not saying that it's not. Now, you can modify that car. You can give it more, horsepower. You can enter and boost. You can do all these things that it's possible that it can reach a faster speed than what it came factory, right?
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say, you have to understand what you're equipped with, and then you can build off that. Because this is why I'm coming off so strong is because that was what led to my biggest frustration in life. I wanted to be somewhere without, like, yesterday, because I read a book that said anything's possible if you just think it, if you imagine it, it's gonna, with enough conviction, it's going to happen. When I skipped a million steps. I'm not saying that there's shortcuts, that there's not shortcuts. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is it led me to confusion. And was I naive for 100% believing it? Probably. But I'm just explaining my experience and why I got frustrated.
No, exactly. Because stuff like that does explain to you, there's a process that goes along with that. Yeah, like everything else, you don't go from 0 to a million in 1 second. Like, you have to build up to that. Like, even like when we were doing the home-based business stuff, like, they always said, like, when you're ready to reach your end goal, like, it's when you're ready to do it. It's not like, you automatically start and you're reaching, like, the final steps of it immediately.
Right.
That makes any sense.
Yeah, no. I wanted to come off that strong.
Yeah. Like right away?
Right away. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm saying for this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't want you guys to think, like, oh my gosh, this guy's telling me, but I want to stop certain thought processes and maybe just redirect them or maybe reconfigure them.
Sure.
I don't think that it's 100% wrong, and I think you have all the parts. I think maybe we just have to readjust it. Oh, yeah. Just like the same thing with, upgrading and upgrading the car to hit faster levels, right? Yep. A lot of this, but easiest ways like drag racing, these guys doing quarter miles and stuff like that. There's certain things that they have to adjust, right, after every race, right? And then there's certain equipment that they have to use, certain methodologies that they have to use. There's certain things that don't work for a specific kind of car. That's what I'm talking about, where you have to make, like, the adjustments you have to make to, I don't know, like a drag car that's a truck versus a little tiny a Starlet, right? Or they're gonna be two different engines, two different kinds of adjustments. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like, don't read a general book that's telling you anything's possible when your life is totally different. The same thing goes with health-wise. Your results, right? You're gonna go. You can't read. You can. But you can't take out with a person who's talking about exercise and genetics, take out what you can and apply it to your life, but you can't expect the exact same results, is what I'm trying to say, because our genetics are different.
Yes.
Right? And so what one athletic program or training program can do, and you could have two people doing the same amount of work, taking the same supplements, eating the same exact way, and having the same type of lifestyle, and one person's going to burn fat or get more muscular than the other.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to say is they try to blanket. There's a lot of generic information out there where they try to blanket success and try to just like this is
one size fits all.
Here's 10 keys, and if you follow these, it's guaranteed success. And I think in that is misleading. Sure. I'm not saying that those 10 steps aren't true, but I'm saying for the kid or the person that's out there that's frustrated right now, somehow I hope you can somehow understand what I'm saying. Yeah. When I believe you can still accomplish what you set out to do, you just might have to make one or two adjustments. And don't get frustrated because you're following those 10 steps that author told you to, and it's still not happening.
Yes.
Sometimes it might just take a little bit longer. You keep hacking away. Other times you need another perspective from a person who's been there. Yeah. I'm not saying your neighbor who has no idea what you're doing and ask for their opinion. They're probably just going to say something negative anyway. So I'm saying if you're sitting at home right now and you're frustrated because you're not hitting a specific goal and you're like, I'm reading all these books and they're telling me to do this, this, and this, and I'm doing it. What I'm trying to say is you may need to have or find someone who can help you customize your actions and your daily workflow or routine to specifically you. Even workout like gurus have now entered, and I say now, maybe the last 5 years, have now entered that it has to be tailored to that person. Yeah. And that's why they say, you see it on Instagram all the time, inbox me and I'll give a workout or supplements that are tailored to your body type.
Sure.
Why are they saying that? Because they know certain body types are gonna need a different route of a program than other body types.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, don't you think that is the case with the way I got my college degree and the way someone else got their college degree?
Sure.
Listen, we both ended up with Bachelor's of Science. Let's just say, right? I physically went to this school and got my stuff. Why? What's there to take away from the person who did it online? Right? We both hit the end result. We did it two totally different ways.
Yeah.
And even if you actually go to a physical class, people learn differently too.
But so go back to my point though. If I told people the way you get a college degree is to go there, take out all these student loans, and you stay on campus for 4 straight years, take 18 credits a semester, whatever. And I say that's the way to get a college degree. Am I right or am I wrong? I'm right, but I'm wrong in a sense. I'm right because that's how I did it and it's possible. Yes. I'm wrong in a sense that that's not the only way you can do it.
100%.
You see what I'm saying? I guess that's a better example, but people are reading those books to say this is
the same exact results.
And exactly.
Results.
And expecting the same exact results when other things come up. I had a buddy who was in a line, or I shouldn't say a buddy, it was an acquaintance that he was in alignment to finish school in 3 years. Because that's what he wanted to do. Okay, fine. Well, what happened? Someone very important in his life passed away. So much so that it pulled him from his studies. Yeah, and his academics. He ended up getting his college degree in 5 years. Did he fail? Right? And so that's what I'm saying. Along the way, you're probably going to have to make adjustments. It's not going to be perfect. And I'm going back on that, quote, frustration thing. Listening to misleading information, you can take elements of that information and apply them to you.
Yeah.
You can be frustrated. It's okay to not be okay. But what I'm saying is you have to make adjustments. Don't live off that one method.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If it's not working, it's not working. Make adjustments. Tailor it. Customize it.
See what actually works for you.
Yeah. And then utilize, the resources around you. Ask people of knowledge. Ask people. There's so much information online right now. And so I want to make that the possibilities are endless. Absolutely. What you have in you, potential-wise, is endless. I don't know. God gave it to you. How can I know what God instilled in you? Sure. I truly do believe each and every single one of us are here for an absolute reason. I'm not the person to tell you what that reason is. That's for you to discover. Our job is to refine and develop ourselves enough, and as a gift back to God, to become everything we were meant to be, the best versions of ourselves, as we typically say. What that is, I'm not sure. But if you're working on it day in and day out, one step at a time, nothing crazy, not getting overwhelmed, there's going to be spurts, right? You're going to get in spurts where you're going to kill it for 3 months, 6 months. You're going to crush it. This happens with fitness all the time. You're so gung-ho or whatever, and you just bam, 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 knocking it out. Then after a while, you get fatigue.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily physical fatigue. A lot of it is mental fatigue. And then so you have to step back. It's okay. The point here is just don't lose total sight and now everything you just worked for the last 6 months, now you just threw it down the toilet, right? And so it's okay to take that break. It's okay to hold on. This is like overwhelming me mentally.
Yeah.
Let me just talk it out. Those kind of things. But I truly do believe our potential and possibilities truly are endless. I seriously believe if you continually to go after that, whatever it is, whatever you believe in your heart, the reason is that you're here and you keep drilling at it. Who's to say what the possibilities are? Who's to say what the limits are?
Then you could jump over the train tracks.
You might be able to jump over the hey, listen. But yeah, I do think for whatever reason, I don't know, it's like strong on my mind, strong on my heart to say that because I don't know if I saw a post or if I saw something. You listen, every single day is not going to be perfect. Even today, I got into, where I was supposed to be and forgot my briefcase at home. I'm an hour away from my house. Had everything I needed for the day in my briefcase. Now I have, at that moment, I have to make a decision. First, I'm not driving all the way home because that's a 2 hour, an hour back, 2 home and then an hour back after I just traveled an hour. So it's a 3-hour swing altogether. That's not going to be as productive.
Yeah.
I can be more productive in a 2 hours. But I also got to make a decision at that moment right there. How is this gonna affect my day, positive or negative? In full transparency, I was right in between. I was frustrated. I'm like, dang, you got to be freaking kidding me. So I'm walking in, and I'm saying, don't let this bother you. But it's bothering me.
Sure.
Don't let this bother you. But it's bothering the crap out of me. So I let it bother me. What I then said to myself was, all right, let it bother you, but only for 10 minutes. And just let the frustration go for 10 minutes, reevaluate everything, and boom, you got to get on with it because this is like, it was an accident.
Yeah.
Right? And so luckily, everything that I was somewhat replaceable. It wasn't the same thing. I had to make adjustments, right? I had to get generic keys just to get around, the building. I had to get buzzed in every time I had to, step out of the department, and I'm, maybe making someone else's, job a little bit more frustrating. But everyone did it with a smile, so it was kind of funny, and I made fun of myself afterwards or whatever. Those are the defining moments where I'm going to have a crap day or I'm going to have a good day. I'm not going to sit here in front and say I had the greatest day of my life, right? Because that's just lying.
Yeah.
But I had a productive day, which made me feel better. And I didn't let that one thing in the morning stop a productive day.
You made the most out of it.
Yes. Was it the best day of my life? Absolutely not. But those are the little decisions you have to make on a daily basis because it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
When you come up with the plan, right? The same thing, like that kid had a plan. In 3 years, I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to go to college and knock this out in 3 years. He had a plan literally every single semester. I got to take 20 plus and work through summers, credits, and whatever it was, right? It got derailed. Completely derailed of something that wasn't planned, right? And not his fault. Those are the things I'm talking about. Don't let it completely derail you. Let it derail you, and in my case, for the 10 minutes.
Sure.
It derailed me for the 10 minutes because I literally didn't know, because I typically put my briefcase in the back seat. So I didn't know that I even had it missing until I got to my location. And so it's okay. I let it derail me for 10 minutes. I got frustrated, started pacing. I'm like, all right, let's go. I got all the negativity out, and then boom, I went about my day, right? Same thing. There's someone right now listening, whatever you're doing, you're frustrated as anything. You feel like you've tried everything and it's not working. Keep digging. 1. 2, there's something else you can do to improve your situation. You got to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
But don't quit. Don't quit. Because now you're doing reverse of what we're talking about, what the possibilities are. Because the possibilities can go the complete other way too.
Yeah, because you might realize a different way. You might lead into a different direction. It might actually be better for you.
Absolutely.
Or a better result, I should say.
Absolutely. But also the other way, in a life of despair, a life of poverty, the possibilities on the other end are also there and real, right? And we see it all the time. You have to be able to kind of hone that in. Just as much as it's you have the ability to be super successful, you have the ability to also be super failure, right? It's is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And so you have to, life is going to throw you a mix of things, right? It's going to keep throwing ingredients into your cake, so to speak. You have to be able to work with, the hand that you were dealt with and figure it out, right? Another perfect example is everyone handed the same card.
Yeah.
Same hand, I'm sorry. No. Right? And so you got to work with what you got. And the other thing is the comparison game. You can compare yourself all you want to whoever you want.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you can somehow gather some level of competitive edge in a healthy way.
Yes.
But if you're using that to now either bring someone else down and say, oh, it's because you got hooked up by your parents, or it's because he hit the lottery, or it's because you're just...
Well, that's just making excuses.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. And so, enough with the excuses.
Yeah.
Feel bad for yourself for a very limited time if you want to do that. But the point is, you have to keep moving because the world's not going to completely stop. It's just not. And the more and more you mope on that idea or the lack of results that you're encountering or the frustration, it's a law of attraction is in play. Remember I said that there's laws constantly in motion. You're then going to create more negativity. You're then going to create more failure. So if you allow it to be limited for a small amount of time, see, because there's people out there that are telling people never think negative, never think, and this is what I'm talking about. This is what basically, excuse my language, but this is what pissed me off. Yeah. Because and led to my frustration because I felt that I wasn't allowed to feel negative. Sure. I wasn't allowed to feel despair. I wasn't allowed to feel down one day for whatever reason.
Because I always had to have the facade of like, oh, yeah, everything's great.
Every day had to be the best day. It had to be.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Your intention should be today's going to be the best day. Every single day. It should be that.
Sure.
But reality is every single day will not be your best day.
Yeah.
And it's okay. That's what I want to say. It's okay. I think when I first started trying to hit my goals, I strived beyond hitting the goal. It was like perfection. Like I had to hit it in August, sure. or what? Or what? And that's why so many people were frustrated in setting goals and everything else because you had someone who's pushing you to do X, Y, and Z, which is fantastic, and sometimes unrealistic.
Yeah.
But the fact that you didn't hit it, and then there's like, all right, well, you're going to do it next, and it's like, you have to like, there has to be reality inserted somewhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or you're kidding yourself is what you're doing. You're living an absolute joke. Because that is not how any of this works. It's not how any of this works. And it took me a long time to understand that. And I have no idea why I'm harping on this, but I feel like it needs to hear that because It's like you're frustrated. You need to stop being frustrated. Forgive yourself. I'm not saying, hey, listen, maybe you put yourself there. Maybe it is your fault. That's okay, though. I was not okay because I was taking my results, then blaming myself, then angry at myself. And like I said on a previous podcast, then I would have a complete grudge against myself and all my goals. And it was like, you didn't even do it. You didn't even do it.
Yeah.
You couldn't even do it.
You talk yourself out of everything you're trying to do.
If I didn't hit it and I tried and I busted my tail off, I was still mad at myself. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
You just felt like you failed no matter what.
Yeah. But if I didn't try, or maybe I worded that weird, but if I tried and I didn't hit my goals, right, I would still be mad at myself because I didn't hit my goals.
Yeah.
If I didn't try and I didn't hit my goals, I was still mad at myself because I didn't hit my goals. Again, that does not make sense. Mm-hmm. So in that process, find something, even if you tried, you didn't hit your goal, at least find that there's some positive in some of the action that you took. Grab that, build off that, stepping stone.
Well, that's what we were talking about reflection, because that's where you have to step back and actually like think about what you've actually done and see like the little steps that you actually accomplished. Because if you're always going super hard, you're not going to realize the stuff you've actually done along the way, the little baby steps, even if it is
100%. The other thing about the possibilities is risk taking.
Sure.
You have to be willing to take risks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If
you're adventurous.
How would you know the possibilities if you're not taking a risk? Because it's not okay. For example, if someone defeated the ran sub 4 minute mile, right, which was done. Okay, hundreds of years prior to this man breaking that record, no one believed that it was possible.
Yeah.
But when one person does it, tell me why hundreds and thousands of people do it within the next decade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Millions before him never did it. Yeah. As soon as he does it, tens of thousands within the next 5-10 years, everyone's doing it.
Because it's actually possible now.
Mm-hmm. Right. But if he didn't push himself and he stayed like all those people who went before him, sure. And he stayed like, it's not human, it's not possible for someone to run sub 4. And then he did it, and all of a sudden, it became a belief for everyone else. And he set that tone. But to go back on risk taking, you have to be willing to take a risk. And the reason why is this is real life. Everything's not, butterflies and rainbows, so to speak.
Sure.
Life's going to hit you. Life's going to smack you right in the mouth, right? And you're going to be looking around like, holy smokes, I'm not so sure about this, right? But where the risk-taking comes is with faith. And faith in your goals, so now you have the other element, right? And now you know that you yourself can't do this by yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't humanly possible before. But once you interject faith, I think it's a lot easier. I'm not saying that it's easy. It's a lot easier for you to take a risk. And it's thought out. I'm not saying be a very risky person in everything you do. I'm saying if you believe enough and it's planned and you have, counsel or whatever, take a risk, right? And there's a lot of people who do this all the time that, they say that they wish they started a business sooner or they wish they would have did X, Y, and Z sooner. How many times have you heard that? They just finally took the leap of faith.
Yeah. Because obviously even kind of going to the podcast, we talked about it for a long time. We just didn't do it for a long time.
Yeah. Our previous guest, John Hunter, he said the exact same thing. He thought about it for 2 years.
Yeah.
And then finally, because of quarantine, he took advantage of the time and started a podcast.
Yeah.
And now has a successful podcast. But he took the risk.
Yeah.
If he didn't take the risk, listen, you could take the risk all you want in your mind and you think you have it all mapped out. It's there's people who thought that they had recession-proof businesses that are closed down right now.
Yeah.
That are closed down right now, unfortunately. And that's, so they thought they had it all figured out. And that's the thing. And that's the reason why it's important to reflect and make adjustments along the way. Listen, same thing, we said it all the time. It sounds funny, but the guy who was in business of knocking door to door, selling encyclopedias, is not in business right now. And if he is, that's a very rare thing. But what I'm saying, it's not a booming business because of the way the world has moved now through technology.
Yes.
And so there's a realistic thing there. I mean, what were the odds of you selling encyclopedias door to door in the 70s compared to 50 years later in the 20s? Sure. I mean, 2020 in a new era. Sure. It's very different. I'm sure you could have sold several in the 70s. You ain't selling. The number's not going to be the same. But in taking risks, inject faith. It will make things easier, right? And you have to have some level of, there has to be some bravery.
Yeah.
You have to be brave enough and enough belief in your dream to then take that risk, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, because nobody took any risk. We have nothing compared to what we have now.
Look around. When you're walking or driving around somewhere, look at everything that is not living, right? Like a plant, a person, a pet. Look at everything else for a second, and it's an invention.
Yes.
Somebody took a risk somewhere and invented whatever it is.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And inventions are still happening day in and day out. Dude, they're saying something like in America, there's about 1,700 millionaires created every single day. So 1,700. That's a lot of people every day. Not every year, every day.
Yeah.
Like, it's possible, right? And probably the same thing. And I'm sure that happens in a familial way too, right? Like the first person who, opened up a business in their family. Now everyone in that family has a belief like, we can do this. This is something that we can do, right? And whether it's not like immediate people, maybe it's like a generation later. Oh yeah, my uncle owned a barbershop.
Yeah.
Right? Or like even like with school, right? Oh, he went to college. Oh, I can do that too. My uncle went to college.
It becomes a normal thing at that point.
Yeah.
Is a business for everyone? No. Is college for everyone? No. I'm not saying you have to do everything your family's doing, but I'm saying we're setting stones for future generations that we're creating more and more possibilities. Now it's more possible. Now it's more believable. Now, same thing. We ran that sub 4 mile for our family, I'm saying. Yeah. Same thing. First millionaire. Oh, dang. he became a millionaire, right? I mean, we have the same blood.
Yeah.
Imagine how confident, how more seriously though.
Sure.
Imagine how more confident your family is, your kids, everything, because they know it's possible. Same thing with making it in professional whatever, professional sports, professional singing, professional healthcare, whatever you're doing, becoming a doctor. The second someone does that, it now interjects through their entire influence, whether it's friends and family. This is possible for us.
That's why you have like families, so like, oh, everybody's a doctor or something.
Right. There's, I think, a local hospital. Literally, like, there's a father and like 3 of his sons are all doctors in the same hospital. Very, very nice people too. And Goose, talk about in obtaining the possibilities or making what things possible. For those who don't know, just explain your story a little bit about, basically being an underball, so to speak, manager for a barbershop, to that building your belief, to then taking the leap of faith of opening up your what's it called, and how easy that was. That's a joke. And starting your own business. But the action.
Yeah, I mean, dude, there's like signs all the time that like you want something so bad, right? And it can be, you can have the opportunity open right in front of your face, but then you're not going to take it, and then just woof, it passed you because you didn't take the leap of faith like he's talking about. And dude, just like my passion for cutting hair, I got an opportunity to work at a barbershop as an apprentice to cut hair, and I'm like the type of person I like to like master what I try to do, or try to like be the best at what I do. Yeah. So obviously, kind of in our area, kind of worked out to my advantage, and I was pretty busy in cutting hair. So to the point where I was pretty much opening, closing the barbershop that I worked at. The owner trusts me with like the money, making deposits and stuff like that. So I was running around. So
you had all the
pretty
major
much
responsibilities.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, dang, I'm like pretty much doing what the owner should be doing. Like I'm here open and close. I'm depositing money, like, except for I'm not getting that money. You know what I mean? It's not for myself. It's for someone else. And as you remember, like, one day I want to open up my own barbershop. And
how long were you doing that for?
So before I realized I should be running my own shop, I was working for someone probably, I want to say like 7 to 8 years.
Okay.
Time around that. And I was like, I should start opening up. I should do something for myself now. And people said it all the time, like, yo, you should open up your own barbershop. I'm like, yeah, okay. All right, yeah. Whatever. And then
they were kind of incepting it into you.
Yeah. And then there was times where I'm like, all right, you know what? I was driving by one day down the street, and I saw like a small little shopping strip, and it was like a small building. It said for rent or whatever. I'm like, you know what? Let me just check this out. Let me just do this. So I remember calling my dad. I'm like, yo, let's check out this place. It's for rent. I think I want to probably open up my own shop or something. We walked in the place. I'm like, dang, it needs a lot of work, which means like a lot of money, a lot of stuff that I wasn't really paying attention. I just thought that like, yeah, get a space. It should be already there. And like, I got to do plumbing. I got to make sure there's shampoo bowls. There's like electrical stuff. And I'm like,
everything's up to code.
Exactly. So I'm like, dang, man. So I'm like, all right, well, this ain't for me, like right now. So I just went back to work and kind of just like pushed it to the side, like opening up my own business, just push it to the side. Couple years have passed, and so where I worked at was in Levittown. Obviously, I grew up in Bristol Borough, so it's like the next town over. And I get like a phone call, I think it was, or he came to me. I don't exactly remember. I think it was a phone call saying, "Hey, is this Miguel?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "There's a barbershop in Bristol Borough that." The old barber that's been there since the 20s, he passed away, and we want to keep it a barbershop. And we know you're a resident of the Bristol Borough. You like went to school in Bristol High. Like we want to keep it as like a local person.
Yeah.
And
kind of keep it in the family type.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, dang, and that like financially I wasn't ready there because I like in those two year time frame, whatever, I bought a house, and I'm like, whatever, dumping money in that, and my mind was on a different path at the time. And then, so I'm like, I just thought about it, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do this. Like, I'm like, I'm gonna miss this opportunity. I'm like, dang, man, like, I'm like, And if I don't do this, someone else is going to do it. I'm going to be so mad.
Yeah.
So I just remember, like, for a day, I just, like, kind of, like, let it sink in. And then I remember calling my dad. I'm like, Pop, like, the shop that we used to go to as kids is up for rent right now. But he didn't expose it yet. He gave me the first shot. And he's like, well, do you want to go check it out? I'm like, yeah, I do. But, like, I'm not financially ready. Like, I mean, I had some money set to the side, but not, like, for the full whatever. So he's like, let's just check it out. Let's just go. I'm like, all right. So we looked at, I remember going in, and I'm like just staring at the front door, waiting for like the owner of the building to come. I'm like staring at him, like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, this is it. Like, I think this is what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like this is what it was meant to be. Open the doors, walk in, and this shop is small. It's like 300 square feet. Like, it's really tiny. And I'm like, well, it needed to be like redone, but I'm like, the size of this place, the renovations that need to be done, I can afford this.
Okay.
Like, I couldn't afford to redo like
The
a
entire
1,500 square foot space that I looked at before.
Okay.
But something smaller, the materials aren't going to cost that much.
Yeah.
So.
And it was already a barbershop.
And it was already a barbershop. It was already, so the plumbing was already there, the electrical was there. It was just like kind of revamping it. And
the base was already, the foundation was there already.
So I remember just leaving, going home, and I'm like, Pop, what do you think? He's like, let's do it. He's like, because you're going to be mad if you don't do it.
Sure.
He's like, let's just do it. And he said, let's. Like, he was like, in other words, like, it's me, but he's like pushing me. Like, I'm going to push you with this, like, but like, we're going to make it work as a family. So I'm like, all right. So I remember calling the landlord, and he's like, all right, yeah, well, if you want it, you need first rent, last rent, security deposit. I'm like, dang, things that you forget about. Like, I'm like, yeah, I can afford the monthly rent, yeah. And then there's like, you need all this stuff, and then obviously you got to have insurance before you like start doing renovations. I'm like, all right, I went to, like, obviously I was still working at the previous shop and everything. So I was working, and I was just saving every penny, not like going out, not doing like the normal routine I would do, like being 28, 29 years old, you know? So then I just did it. Like, I jumped on it. I'm like, this is it. Like, this is like I just had faith that this was going to work. Like, and if it wasn't, I'm going to make it work.
Sure. Yeah.
And then just like with my family, my support system, they're like, dude, you got this. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And like, dude, I remember like just ripping things apart. Like, yo, you have a barbershop. I'm like, dude, this is like the guts or bones right now. There's not even a barbershop. Because we ripped it apart. And everyone's like, yo, you had a barbershop. I'm like, looking around like, this doesn't look like anything right now. But it's like everyone, like, obviously it's like being surrounding yourself by like an amazing support system. So in my mind, I'm like, dude, this is possible. I can make it work. And if not, I'm going to have to make it work. You know what I mean? Like, at the time, I had a daughter. She was young, like 2-3 years old. I'm like, so everything kind of like, dude, this is my chance.
Yeah.
This is my shot. And like, it'll be. So like what Jim was saying, like, sometimes you gotta like, if you sit there and like wait for something to like land on, like you can pray, you can meditate, things do happen, but sometimes people just are so scared when it happens in front of them for them to take it.
They don't recognize it.
It's a God-given sign, and they just kind of like, they're scared and they backpedal and just like let it fly by them, and then their opportunity's gone. Like, they might not ever get another shot at opening up their their dream, you know?
Sure.
So like, sometimes you just gotta be like a catcher in baseball. You got to like put your body in front of the ball and stop it, because if not, it's going to pass you, and then someone's going to score. Someone else is going to take advantage of it. So like, it's you just got to like eyes open and just kind of like see it, feel it, and see, like, obviously you have to have a passion for it, but like when you see it, you have to like jump on it.
Sure.
And then everything else is just kind of like fall in place. And then with the barbershop, like 10 years later, now I'm in triple the size of the space. Bigger, like, of course I was like well known in the area. Now I'm well known like in the county and like all over the place. And but it's if I didn't take that little step of just like, all right, I got the opportunity to come to me. Like, what more can I ask for?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, no, it's a huge thing, and one of the important things I want to highlight that you said was being passionate. So to go back on what the possibilities are, you know, I truly do think. You have to be passionate about, I think, to get the most out of your situation in your life, to truly hit your true potential, I think it has to be a topic, a subject, a career that you are passionate about. I'm not saying you can't make money anywhere else.
Yeah.
Also, don't do it just for the money.
Exactly. Some people do it just be like, oh, because I'm going to make a lot of money. They're not even passionate about it. They're not like, and I'm not even, I mean, the barber industry is like, it's an art form, right? So either you have it or you don't. I mean, you can be taught, but like, if you're not passionate about it, you just see like what a successful barbershop is doing, and you're starting off like, oh, I'm going to open a barbershop. I'm going to make this much money because he did it. Like, you have to be passionate about it, like what you're actually doing, not like for all the wrong reasons.
Because the minute it's not doing what you think it's going to do for you, then you're going to bail in it the minute like it goes south.
Yeah, or even just have like a barbershop and then like there's your competitor's next to you that's a barbershop and you're like, oh, let me upgrade to a bigger shop just to shut him up or just to get more people. Like you're doing it like out of spite or whatever. It's just out of competition. And you're losing focus on your passion.
On what the actual supposed to be.
Yeah, and that leads into the topic of having a healthy mindset. As I was saying earlier, to find what you want to do and to be okay with not being okay. That is part of a healthy mindset where we were making, well, I shouldn't say we, I was making the mistake of everything every day had to be the most fantastic thing. And if I got a flat tire on my way into work, I had to be happy about it.
It was the best flat tire.
It was the best flat tire I've ever had. And that's all sounds good and whatever, but when you suppress your actual feelings, it goes somewhere else. I don't know what end it is. It could be someone else all of a sudden does one little thing, and it could be like, all right, let's try to navigate around that a little bit better next time, or you flipping out the top of your lungs.
Sure.
Right? Because you suppressed a feeling 5 minutes ago about that, whatever. That's what I'm trying to say. It's okay to be by yourself and just belt one out out of frustration or whatever, and then just keep it moving. You got that out of your system. Or if you're like, if you need to, you feel like you're getting emotional about something specific, it's okay. Obviously, you should, if it gets too heavy or whatever, you want to talk to somebody. But the little day in and day out, it's okay. What's not okay is not being kind, taking it out on other people, completely suppressing your feelings, because that, I'm telling you, what happened was I built up so much anger because a couple things. I felt that I wasn't allowed to be dissatisfied with my results. I had to be constantly happy. I had to continue to lie to myself that I was doing well when I wasn't. Excuse me. So I think it multiplied my frustration instead of doing it. I do think for a healthy mindset, you should think in a positive manner. You should have some level of calmness. You should have some level of being relaxed. You should be forgiving. You should be optimistic. But at the same time, none of those feelings are possible without the opposite, right? And so you can't celebrate a win to its highest potential without understanding the loss, the losses that you had to endure. And I know I feel like I keep harping on that one topic, but I feel like there's someone listening that's going to release them, that's going to let them take a deep breath and relieve them from a stress that they put on themselves that's not necessary. And guess what? The second I stop squeezing onto trying to be perfect in my results and perfect in every other aspect, because that doesn't mean that you can't work in an optimistic way. I'm not saying that. Yeah. I'm saying that I was trying to do everything by the book, the way it was written down. By August, I was going to do X, Y, and Z. And if I didn't, I'm going to go for the next August. And it was just like, dude, I wasn't even reflecting back on anything because that was a form of negativity. It was like, dude, this is wild. And basically, I'm trying to save someone's time, too, because you're just going to waste your time. Yeah. But anyway, so what do you guys think when it comes to the possibilities for the podcast, right? And so one of the things with the coronavirus when we got affected was initially we didn't know how. For us, it was more because we already had the ability in which we already did have remote podcast where we did, I believe, via Zoom or something.
Back when we did Skype initially,
Skype. Okay, there you go.
In the first year, that was 3 years ago. At this point.
Right. And we were doing that based out of someone was in a whole other state than us. It wasn't necessarily, the pandemic was nowhere even in our thought process, but because we've already had experience that our transition was somewhat seamless. I think we literally took a week off. It was a week, and then we came back and just did one just with ourselves, like a show with ourselves, and then from there we just continued to have guests, and we just kind of kept rolling with it. Only because it was unexpected. We didn't know what to think, and of course we had a couple Skype ones or whatever we did Zoom. I'm not sure which one we did. For about a month or two we did that, and it worked, and we just kept it moving. Were we affected? Of course. Yeah. But in our situation, we were able to transition a lot smoother than other things could have transitioned, right?
Because obviously, it so happened to be that we had the stuff from 3 years ago, that we had the equipment to kind of that I kind of made a mini studio in my own house to kind of help gather us back together. Obviously virtually, but to keep it kind of rolling.
So one of the things, like I keep saying about the possibilities for our podcast, I'm constantly talking to the guys about it, is dream building. And that was one thing that I learned that I thought was fantastic. And part of dream building is, not only just envisioning yourself already having the things that you want, but the dream building comes into effect when you utilize your 5 senses and truly immerse yourself in that feeling of having and being with and just being. And so, if we wanted a specific car, you go to a car dealership, get in it, test drive it. You're physically, because now you're attracting, through the law of attraction, attracting more of that into your life. Or checking out, or, we dream build about, the homes that we wanted, and things like that. So I do think that dream building is still a foundation of I do it literally every single day.
And that goes back to the whole theme of it too. You have to think about what is possible to understand what you actually can accomplish to be possible, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and you also have to look forward to something.
That's what exactly. Yeah. There has to be some end goal.
Right.
It can't be this nebulous thing of I just want to do more stuff. You can't be super generic that there's no actual end goal. It's just you just keep going for the heck of it.
Yeah, and I think having something when you're dream building, the mistake I did was I was very selfish in what I wanted. I want this because I want the nicest house that I could ever have, but that was it, right? So if I accomplished that, all I was going to have was this huge box that I live in, right? In essence, you know what I mean? So when I look around now, when I dream build now, it's what impact is that going to have on the people around? I'm not saying everything I dream about and do is going to have, oh, wow, that's inspiring, I'm not saying that. It can be little stuff, but it also has to make sense, right? Yeah. Because if you're just setting goals for stuff, just to have stuff, and so that's what I mean. It's okay to have the materialistic things, right? It's okay to have that, but you have to intertwine it with things that are impactful, right? And so, how else are you going to utilize? Let's just say, oh my gosh, I want a boat, right? And you want this specific little, maybe it's a speedboat, maybe it's a fishing boat, whatever, and you've always wanted this. No one's going to take and you're a fisherman, right? And you do fishing. I'm not saying it has to be every weekend, but you would use it. Yeah. Okay. There's a difference between that, right? And then the person who's like, I want 10 fish boats because I just want to be the person that has 10 fishing boats. Right? Versus the person who wants the fishing boat because he knows he can take his 2 kids out on the lake and create memories from that, and also literally teach them how to fish. Right? There's a big difference between all 3 of those. And the one and all of them still have ended up with a fishing boat, right?
Yeah.
So there was nothing wrong. It's not the material it's not nothing wrong with it. It's your intention. What kind of impact are you going to have? Are you just getting it just to get it? It's the same thing where someone says, I heard one time, there's nothing wrong with getting the most brand new iPhone because of the camera, because basically the upgrades on these phones are a better camera.
Yeah,
sure. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If you're into photography and you really do take pictures, but if you're just getting the iPhone 47 because everyone knows it costs $900 and the fact that it's a symbol of status or whatever you want, that's totally different.
Sure. But I mean, that's a physical object's easy to quantify,
right?
As a goal, but like you said, it's what you want to do with that. It's what you want to do with it that actually creates the actual.
And
purpose.
everything could be realistic, but like doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah.
I could want a house that has 6 bedrooms, and it's just me, Lauren, and Neva. Like,
Sure.
what do I need a house that has 6 bedrooms?
I
For?
want
But
if I want to expand my family or whatever.
But my brother Hack has 5 kids, so a house with 6 bedrooms makes sense for him, and it's
Yes.
you know what I mean. So it's if it all makes sense too, like you can dream build on stuff.
Or you could be you 3, and then you're planning, maybe, at one point our parents are going to get old, and then they can live with us.
Yeah, as long as
right?
you-
And then your intentions are totally different versus the guy who just wants the biggest house on the block just to have the biggest house on the block. Like, for the sake of that, you know what I'm saying? It's intentions and what kind of impact. So that is more of if you say, because I'm going to take care of my parents when I get older, or when they get older, within the next 10 years, they're going to retire. And
I have the space for them to.
Yeah, and I'll have the space. Way more impactful than the guy who just is going to live there with the same 3 people.
I need a mansion. I need a wing to myself.
Yeah. And so if you look at it that way, no one's taking away your materialistic goal. If you think about it that way,
sure.
What's the impact if it's going to have? You have to check yourself. No one can do that. If let people talk all the smack that they want. If you know that's the impact that you're going to have for X, Y, and Z goal,
Sure.
then go after it. And if it's truly what you want to do, I do believe you're at some point, if your intentions were good enough, you will either obtain them. If they're not, you may obtain it, but I feel like you also lose it, or something's going to happen there that's not right. So to go back, and to revisit the dream building thing for the podcast. We're wanting to take the podcast to another level. We have ideas, and I feel like this year we have to really put some things into motion to make X, Y, and Z happen. And we need to dream build more for the podcast, because I feel like we have awesome content, we have awesome guests, we have awesome equipment, we have everything's there. Obviously, a commitment where we've been doing this for 5 years. But to shift things into another level, I think is where we are. I feel like that's the healthy move.
Because we've been super incremental, I guess, if anything. In terms of like expanding, but
of course, but it's got us here.
Absolutely,
You know what
100%.
I mean? We were treading, we still are treading slowly, you know. And even if we're dream building for this year, and same thing, like a million of those things that we wanted to do don't happen this year. That's not the goal. The goal is to, again, take a little step, like we did. We upgraded the wires to our microphones, and then we upgraded the stands of the mic. We didn't have a whole dope setup after our first session, which I'm surprised after we landed at the episode 3 after the first 2 disasters. You know what I'm saying? Just to dream build on that. We're also constantly, whether it's for our personal lives, for our professions, the podcast, our families, our lives, whatever. This is something that you can do for any area of your life. And like I said, it's, if there's ever a time to truly, stretch what's possible, it's definitely now. All right, last thing, we'll close with, what's your recommendation to anyone trying to go after a huge goal?
It's like, know what your huge goal is, but like so you don't get overwhelmed and kind of get the frustration. It's like break it down in little pieces.
Yeah.
So you know you're actually making progress as opposed to just going for one goal and like getting frustrated along the way and just you might potentially give up on it because it feels like it's too lofty at some point because you get so lost in the weeds and you get so like lost in your own head.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect response. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, it's like we said, it's as long as it's reasonable. It could be the biggest goal, but as long as it's reasonable and you're being supported too by people around you on that goal. You know, if it's like we're going back to the house thing or going back to like a business thing, like your spouse and significant others or whatever is supporting you. Yeah. So like when you do have like that slight bit of doubt, that person's behind you, like, yo, you got this. Remember? Like it's all about support and just never doubting yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I would go to check yourself, make sure your intentions are right, and make sure it's something that you truly are passionate about. Because like you said, and Gabe said, when those days that aren't going to be perfect and you're going to hit a low, nothing else. There might be a time where nothing else is going to carry you but the passion for it, and so the passion will drag you through. But only for so long, and then like you said, then you get the compliment, then you get the support, then you get a result and then that's gonna boost you, right? But when the hard times come, even when they're a test, if you don't have the passion, I truly believe that it just won't work. So as Gabe said, do it in incremental pieces. All right, so there you have it. The possibilities. We like to wrap things up with quotes, and the first one is by Topsy Gift. Success is only possible to those whose hearts are willing and ready to embrace hard work. Second one by Mohith Agadi. In this beautiful world, anything is possible, but only when we believe wholeheartedly and try. The possibilities. In this episode, we have the crew. We cover topics that range from goal setting, dream building, a healthy mindset, the coronavirus, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Topsy Gift and Mohith Agadi. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.